Hi everyone, it's Rax. Today we got some news about Diablo 4, which I find very conflicting. Some people might consider it good news. I'm not sure that it is. I'm leaning more towards it's bad news. And the GM, Rod Ferguson, has confirmed with an interview with Dexerto that we are going to have annual expansions for Diablo 4. If we're having annual expansions, well, that means a lot of things.
First of all, anal expansions and we potentially have to pay for it. What?
That means a lot of things. First of all, one thing you could say that it means is that, well, they're holding back content to release as paid content for an expansion.
Yo, I've literally been saying this for a long time. Since the game pretty much came out, I've been saying that they've been holding back content and it's all in marketing. It's literally been certified by Microsoft and PlayStation, who they have to get certified by to put out big content, new content. And Rod himself has said this many times. I've said it in numerous previous videos of mine, number of videos. I've said this. And like, dude, you're seeing what I've been saying for like over a month. Well, since nobody apparently watches my videos and nobody listens, let's go ahead and hear what Rod said yet again. And he said this in June. Okay, so this isn't some like new thing, like this isn't some surprise or, oh no, like we had no idea this was coming. Like, check it out.
When you get into season one, I don't understand. Well, we're like pretty much finishing up season one right now. In order to be able to put it through certification, the way that we do our release candidate testing, like we need to be ahead of the game. And the fact that we're only, let's say it's mid to late July and we're already sort of mid June, so we're like 4 weeks away. It can take a couple weeks to get through cert and everything else. So you kind of have to be out in front of this stuff. And so that's what I was trying to set in one of the official dev streams of managing expectations. When we find something, we're like, it's not a hot fix worthy thing or something we can't even hot fix because it's not just like changing a variable on a server. It's something that is a complex system that requires real work. It may come a little bit later than you're thinking because of the fact that we have to be so ahead of the game in developing this content for you. So that's why you're hearing stuff like season two means season one is pretty much done. I mean, it's done from a development perspective, and now it's in the QA and certification phase. So that's why we talk about season two as the next sort of window to put stuff out like this.
Yeah, and we
And he said that before season one, long before season one came out. Like, this is weeks before season one came out, and he was like, we're already done with the season. Like, it's just going through certifications. So, and then not to mention what Mike said again, like, the president of Blizzard, right? He was like, yeah, we're already planning Diablo 5. Like, does that mean we're already working on it? Like, what does this mean? Like, and then the stuff that they just came out and the Dextro interview, like, I don't know, dude. Was Rod on a like s'mores high again? Like, was he just like spewing things out that he shouldn't have said? Uh, and yeah, bring more playability to the current game and have more content, a new grind, a new goals, etc. So, I mean, let's listen to what Joe Shelley says real quick. Let me just bring you back to this, what Joe says here about each season and what his idea and what their actually it's their idea of what a season is. So let's go ahead and listen real quick.
Oh, good point. When we think about seasons, um, one of the things that we think is most important is delivering new content,
Right.
because that is new stuff for everyone. Like, if we and we want to make sure that every season is delivering new content, and then on top of that, bring in important fixes, bring in some quality of life improvements. And so, I know that I've seen some lists, like people have helpful.
So right there, more content in a season, right? So this is like when I started playing Diablo 4, I went in, I was like, okay, so we're going to do the alpha test, which is the live game until season starts, so alpha test literally. So we can get all the bugs and stuff like that fixed. We got a lot fixed and they did a pretty good job on fixing a lot of stuff, but the content is really lackluster. There wasn't really that much. I'm just straight up. I played every single class to its fullest ability. I did multiple builds with all the classes, and it's just there's not really much to do. There's not enough build diversity, and just watch all of my other videos, and you'll see why I don't particularly give Diablo a high rating, and why I don't really play it that much. Actually, I haven't played it in weeks. And then he goes on and it continues to talk about the season. Let's listen to this real quick.
Season 1 and Season 2, you're going to continue to see those things. You're not going to see a season that's like, sorry, we didn't
Bare
make any
bones,
content,
yeah.
but here's a bunch of fixes.
Yeah, and
So what I took from this is every season is going to bring something new. It's going to have new bosses, new uniques, maybe new abilities, and potentially even new classes and things like that. More content, right? Content. And so I'm just really confused because Mike said that they're currently working on a new title. I'm not sure, like, we don't have to wait so long between titles, Diablo 4 and beyond. Like, what are you talking about, Mike? Can you clarify that? And then coming back to what Rax is talking about, quarterly seasons and then our annual expansions. So, I mean, is this expansion going to be like an entire new game? Is it going to be, the several different acts? Like, is it going to be a continuation of the story and the seasons are just placeholders that have seasonal themes like Malignant, which was pretty bad? Didn't really have much content. It had one boss, the Malignant gems, and like only I believe people use like maybe like 6 of the gems out of all the gems. Barber being one of the main gems. And not to mention all the issues that Barber had. It was broken. It was broken this way, that way. They fixed it. They broke it this way. They literally had the game unplayable at several points throughout the month, and it's not acceptable. So I mean, I just haven't been playing it. It's that bad. People like Rax and Woody Joe and other players who only play Diablo, well, they've still been playing. Yeah, so I mean, there's really not any content, and let's
Or
just hear what
rather
Rax
than
says.
putting their best foot forward. When a lot of people already initially thought that, correctly, that Diablo 4 was not really a complete game on its release. It had a ton of bugs. A lot of them had already been reported. They still weren't fixed. They're trying to work through it. They have done a nice job of making some improvements since the launch, but a lot of people think of it as too little too late, or that they weren't getting what they paid for in the beginning.
To too little, too late. I think they released a game in alpha with just money, like money signs in their eyes. I really feel like it was a cash grab and we got robbed. There's
So, with them kind of, maybe we should take this very literally, and maybe this isn't exactly what they mean, but if they are saying every year we need to have an expansion, to me, this is just bad news. It's going to be more money every single year at the end of Diablo 4's lifespan. How much will Diablo 4 have cost if you had bought all the content?
all right. Let me stop him right there. So let's think about games I've spent money on in the past, and most expensive is going to be World of Warcraft, and then Eve, because they're both subscription games only. You have to pay to play. So those right there already when I have no idea how much I paid. I'm not going to do the math. It's disgusting. So we're just not going to think about that. And then the next most expensive base game I've ever played was Escape from Tarkov, and I think that was $135 when I originally bought that. And that's the most I've ever paid for a game. So that's a lot of money. And yeah,
It's probably going to be pretty expensive. I'm assuming that all of these are going to be paid. I think that's their model here.
yeah, so I'm assuming he's assuming that it's going to be paid because, they already have this battle pass that's paid. Reaper of Souls when it came out was $40. Yikes. So, and then they had this trash update patch, whatever you want to call it. This was $15, and you pretty much got a necromancer, and what additional stash tabs and character slots. So yeah, I was pay to win, by the way. This is just straight up pay to win. additional stash tabs. You can call it convenience if you want, but that's 100% pay to win. Reaper of Souls was actually an expansion. This was like, I don't know, it literally made the game playable. So yeah. All right, let's get back to Rax and listen to what he says here real quick.
So, um, and then the other question is how much content will be in each expansion? How do the price points and the level of content match up? If they release one new class, one new campaign chapter, and one new endgame activity or one more crafting thing, and they do that once per year, would you consider that to be a suitable expansion?
All right, so consider this as well. He didn't mention this, but after what Joe Shelley said, they want to add content every season. They want to keep it fresh. They want to keep new goals, stuff like that. Joe Shelley said they literally don't want to release a season without content in it. So does that mean no characters, no new act, no storyline until the annual expansion, things like that. Like I think that's like Rack should have had added that in, and I'm curious to what Joe meant by seasons will have content. Do you mean one boss and one malignant theme? Like I can't even like that's it. That's all they had for the season. Some really terrible mechanic, which just like replaced the useless gems that gave you armor, gave you like barber, which is just like the build type in Diablo 4 builds, and any build you find is more likely gonna have the barber. So all builds are just barber in the new season. Other than that, they didn't really add anything else to the season. So with that being said, even with season one pretty much being done for me, and the content that they added for season one, the game really doesn't have much to do. The season mechanic was really bad. I've already mentioned that like several times. Not to mention that it was just bad, but it also just kept not working as intended. Uh, many times. It had many issues. The most recent issue actually made the game just literally unplayable because Barber did not work, and then the servers were broken. They just numerous issues. But with all that aside, let's just say all that never existed. Let's say there was no bugs, nothing else affected the game except the content within the game. If we have to wait annually, once a year, for a major update like Reaper of Souls, that is cringe. Based on what Joe Shelley said during the campfire chat, I expect content every season, and I don't expect to have to pay for it. Things I do and expect to pay for are things like convenience, uh, but not stash tabs. Stash tabs, I should never have to buy stash tabs. Not in a game where you already paid a base value for. But a free to play game like Path of Exile, I do not have an issue buying stash tabs because that is how the game makes money. And like Rack says, developers do deserve money for their game because they created it. And well, they need to make money to keep creating games. So that's very understandable. And since that was a free to play game, I went ahead and accepted the fact that you have to buy the stash tabs. But since Diablo is a full price AAA game that most of us paid $90+ for, I don't expect to have to ever buy stash tabs in this type of game. And excuses like, oh, well, you share everybody's tabs, you're loading all the data from their tabs as well as your tabs. It's bullshit. Just give us more tabs. I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to hear that you have poor coders and things like that. Just fix it. Um, and then I really hope that we don't get anything like Rise of Necromancer. I hope this is not planned. And again, if it is Reaper Souls and we only get it once a year, that's kind of cringe. It's just not enough content. And I mean, we'll still play it, we'll still give it a go. And of course, I'm going to be covering every season and trying different builds and things like that. But as for playing this game full time, it's not going to happen.